The Queen cancelling events, local elections delayed a year. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization declare Europe the epicentre of the pandemic.
5,000 people have lost their lives, a tragic milestone. Europe has now become the epicentre of the pandemic, with more reported cases and deaths than the rest of the world combined, apart from China.
The nation looking to the decisions of this man, with advisers explaining possibly the most important call he will ever make to delay the shutdown of schools, workplaces and big events.
If you completely locked down absolutely everything, probably for a period of 4 months or more, then you would suppress this virus. All of the evidence from previous epidemics suggests that when you do that and then you release it, it all comes back again. So the other part of this is to make sure that we don't end up with a sudden peak again in the winter. 60% is the sort of figure you need to get herd immunity.
But some experts question the conclusions which government scientists have drawn.
We don't know whether or not this virus induces very effective herd immunity. If you take rubella, most children get rubella if they haven't had the vaccine, and they would have lifelong immunity. If you get the flu, next year you need a different vaccine because the strain is different. Which camp is coronavirus in, we don't yet know.
The opposition isn't opposing, but not quite sure how far to support either.
I support the approach of moving from the contain stage to the delay stage, but I think the government needs to move to the explain stage. I just want the government to be clearer with the public. I've got constituents asking me why football games are not being cancelled. They're asking me serious questions about how their elderly relatives are going to cope because we know the social care system has been so cut back after many, many years. They're asking me questions about schools when they see other countries across the world closing schools.
Boris Johnson's government has struck out on its own, internationally at least, in its handling of the coronavirus crisis. Now, so far, Boris Johnson has taken the nation with him, but that's got to continue. The fact that the opposition and the leaders of national parliament haven't yet piled in with much criticism, even though the doubts are there, is a mark of how reluctant they are to do so. But he knows that the decisions that he's making at the moment could be his undoing.
The man who did this all before with swine flu says that a consensus is vital.
Be prepared is the #1 point. We had a national pandemic plan that had been put before Parliament. We role-played it in 2007 when I was made Health Secretary, and 2 years later there was a pandemic. So that plan, upon which we consulted with the opposition, there was wide consultation with the devolved authorities.
Life is already changing, even without government diktat, but clear leadership remains as important as ever. Sam Coates, Sky News.